Hello and welcome to Success is Never Accidental, the show where we get to explore strategies and the mindset needed for success. And I get to interview some highly successful people. My guest today is Professor Joshua Aston, who's the Dean of the School of Business and Law at Edith Cowan University in Perth in Western Australia. A prolific author, Josh is widely published on a diverse range of legal topics, and he has a specific interest in the fields of modern slavery and human rights law. He's interested in learning from international comparators, and his focus is on how to promote positive change, reduce violations of human rights, raise awareness of issues like sex trafficking, and encourage more humane societies. His academic achievements have resulted in awards in his home country of India, as well as in Germany, Singapore, and Israel. So help me welcome Josh Aston. Hi, Josh, and thank you so much for joining us today on Success is Never Accidental. And looking at your career and all your many publications and academic awards, success clearly required a lot of hard work and effort on your part. Can you tell us a little bit about what brought you from India, where you I suppose you were mostly educated, to Edith Cowan University in Western Australia?
Right. So thank you very, Lynn, for having Lynn, for having me on your podcast. I have been actually traveling a lot, although I was grounded in India and I was working, those were my roots, and I was working from a university there. I did have a chance to move to Germany for some time and then to Singapore, and also did a small stint at Tel Aviv University in Israel. So that really, I thought that would give me that exposure that I was looking for. And my particular area of research is human rights law and humanitarian law, as you know. So it was important for me to move to other jurisdictions to understand how the laws function internationally as well as in other continents. And I think that was one of the main reasons to make a move to Australia, uh, 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 being so well versed and in terms of international law and stuff. Good universities, top universities here. That's what made me move here.
And Edith Cowan has a particular history and particular values, which seem to me to be very aligned with your own principles, Josh. Could you tell our listeners what is so special about the Edith Cowan University and how it was founded?
Absolutely. So Edith Cowan University is the only university in Australia to be named after a woman. And she was the first parliamentarian, and she is one who fought for the rights of women, for justice, and she did a lot during her times. And being a part of a university named after her means a lot. And her values are also the values of the university, which are respect, integrity, rational inquiry, personal excellence, and courage. And that's what we actually live through every day when we're working at the university in all that we do here.
And that concept of rational inquiry is kind of a unique value. And why is that so relevant, especially to the work that you're doing in terms of human rights and reducing modern slavery?
Yeah, the work that I'm doing requires a lot of freedom, academic freedom in that sense. And when we do research at ECU, we get all kind of support that is required from the university, from top to bottom. And in that sense, I think we're made to think in a certain way, critical thinking, logical reasoning, and that is what we are able to explore as much as the best of our potentials is explored here, I feel. And Of course, with that freedom that we get, which is not usually available in all the other places that I've worked in the past. So I think that is something that makes it very unique to be at ECU.
And why are international comparators so important, Josh?
I think uh, ultimately you want to know where you want to stand, where you want to belong, and it's always important to compare yourself with with other universities, with other people, with other things that are happening around, which you probably want to see yourself being there. And I think that's why it's really very important. We no longer live on an island. It's not a cocoon that we live in, and that's why it's important to know what's happening around and you know.
And that's very important in my world as well. As you know, I work with promoting empowerment with senior managers and the leadership in public sector organizations and not-for-profit organizations. And being able to identify and learn from best practice in other jurisdictions is so, so important. And in fact, the model for child protection that we use in Ireland is actually imported from Perth in Western Australia. So that's interesting as well. Josh, you lead a very big faculty, and you have lecturers and academics who again come from all different places. Why is the team so important to the work that you do?
Okay, that's a very good question. I would say that I believe in that African philosophy of Ubuntu, which really means I am because we are. And leadership, I've always been in leadership roles all my life. So it really comes to me very naturally. I also think that it's very important to work in a team because that really gives you diverse perspectives. It really tells you so much about skills and talents of other people that you can work with. Now, as you know, I've been an associate dean in the law discipline here. I work with over a dozen barristers and solicitors. And with my leadership skills, I've really got a good team. I've really nurtured them. And I think with a good team, the sky is the limit because my team particularly strengthens me to and encourages me to, grow. They always stand by me. And I think that's why having a good team is pivotal. It's very important to work in teams.
And what is it about your leadership style that brings that team along and empowers them to go after other opportunities and to really, because they're all so committed. I've met them. I met your lovely team when we were in Perth last year, and their commitment and respect and joy of working in your department was evident. What is it that you do as a leader to grow that culture?
Yeah, Lynn, I think it's very important to have the value of trust. And I think that is something that my people definitely know that I'll never throw them under the bus. I always have their back. I'm always going to support them. And whatever decision I take, it will be in their best interest. So not just at ECU, but in all my previous jobs, I've really been very lucky to enjoy that kind of confidence from my staff because they know that I'm never ever going to do something that is going to, disadvantage them. And I would never do that because that's not me. That's not my value.
And trust is so easy to say, but trust takes a long time to earn. And I don't know if you're familiar, but I love the work of Stephen Covey Jr. And he says trust is built on, and one of the values that you said earlier, integrity, intent. And as you just said, people know that you have their backs. They know that you're going to work. So your intent is pure. But also we earn trust by our track record, don't we? So you're only as good as your last rodeo kind of thing. Yeah. So talking about track record and your success, what are some of the disciplines that keep you on course to always be striving for the next goal?
I think values would play a very important role there, and values of integrity, honesty. As I said earlier, I've been a part of the Indian Sea Cadet Corps and the Royal Naval Reserve, and that's why I have the three strong pillars of discipline, dedication, and devotion, which have always been there with everything that I have done. So I think that is something that really keeps me on check, that always keeps me going. And I've always been very honest to whatever I have done. I've always respected people, and I don't think I would ever compromise with my values. That is something that has always kept me going, made me what I am, and always stood by me in my decisions that I have taken at all times.
And do you have any disciplines for each day that helps you get through a very, very diverse workload? How do you keep on track with your goals?
Yeah, so I think I do a number of things there. I think other than, I mean, of course, my work is very important. I have to do things there are deadlines that we have to meet, so on and so forth. But I think I would say that particularly uh, uh, switching off, taking breaks from time to time are things that are very important that keep you going. I spend about half an hour playing piano every day, and I think that helps me to stay focused. I really enjoy my gardening from time to time. I try and find at least 10 to 15 minutes in a day to spend time in my garden. That is something that keeps me going. And other than that, of course, I meditate. That is very important because it's not just the outer body that needs to be protected. It's also the mind that needs to be kept in control. And there are so many things that happen every day which try to which make you deviate from your goals and so on and so forth. But you have to be on track. You don't want to get swayed away with the tide. And that's why there are all these mechanisms that I have. I think they are my self-protecting mechanisms that they keep me in place.
And really, self-care is not self-indulgence. A famous American author once said, but I can't remember her name, but she said self-care is not self-indulgence, it's self-preservation. And all those little disciplines, particularly meditation, where you can just let the day go and, as you say, connect with your inner self, are just so important. Relationships are also critical to you, and I noticed that you're an active member of the Joondalup Community Board. Can you say why it's important that universities have that connection with their local community?
Sure. So success for me is not just achieving my goals. It's that larger picture that I'm looking at. I'm looking at not just my personal achievements, but trying to see what I can give back to the society. So when I came to Perth, I used to spend 3 to 4 hours every Saturday working at Cat Haven, looking after the cats, feeding them, and all the kind of work that is required to be done at Cat Haven. And now that I'm a part of the Joondalup Business Association, I try and do my best to make sure that the small businesses particularly, are represented well before the council and they get what they need. We have our coffee connection and sundowners every fortnight where we try and hear these people's problems and take it to the right uh, uh, place where they would probably find a solution, because being at ECU, which is one of the biggest businesses in Joondalup, in that sense, I do have a lot of connections with the city, the council, and that's where I can leverage all these just to make sure that it makes a difference in somebody else's life. I think that's very important for me.
And just so important very often that we know the right person in order to get a result. So forging those relationships is critical on an ongoing basis. So then when something happens, you know who to go to, or you know who can identify who the person you need to go to.
Right.
Josh, you said success isn't just about achievements, it's about how you add value. If you were to give our listeners some tips about how to be more successful, what are 2 or 3 things that you would say that people need to be conscious of in their journey towards success? Because success is very individual, it's different for everybody, but it seems to me there may be some grounding principles.
Sure. So I think I can answer that question. I think there are 3 very important points that I'd like to make for your listeners. The first one is, of course, values. It's very important to have good values in life and stay by them. You should stick to them. I also believe that success without integrity is actually failure. It's not success at all. So once we have imbibed these values within us, honesty, loyalty, trust, your integrity, personal excellence, courage, stay by them. Do not compromise. Do not give up these values for anyone, even if it's bringing some good for you, because that's not really going to be good, because you're then compromising with your principles. The second one, I think, is surroundings. I think it's very important to be in good company. It's very important to be in the company of the learned, because that is something that will help you to grow and to be successful. Because it's very clear, because small minds discuss, people's great minds discuss ideas. So you really want to be in company people who have ideas, and people who are not really gossiping here and there. And the third very important thing, I think, is willpower. Willpower is very, very important. It plays a very important role in your life, as it has in mine. I think there's a very beautiful quote. They say, if you want something, you really need something, and you really give your best, the entire universe will conspire for helping you to achieve that goal or that thing that you want. So I think don't give up, never give up. If you want 100% result, you have to give 100%, nothing less than that.
And I totally agree with you. I have so many examples of when I was clear what I want, the universe actively conspired to help me get there. So that's a beautiful note to end. Thank you so much for spending time with us today and for your very, very valuable insights. And I look forward to connecting with you in Perth very shortly.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you.
So many incredible lessons there about not just success, but about leadership, about community, about the importance of values and giving back. So let me just try and summarize a few of the key learning points. Clearly, living by his values was fundamental to Josh Aston. And his advice was, be clear about your values and then live by them. And regardless of what circumstances are, don't ever let them be compromised. Secondly, he said, ensure you're in good company. Surround yourself with people from whom you can learn. And he said specifically, ideas people. Then he said about the importance of willpower and determination and the discipline of being driven by your goals, but not just by your achievements, by the importance of giving back. Then he talked about all of his efforts in the local community to make sure that the university is linked to small businesses in the area, and that it's seen as a source of help for and support for those people. And then that brought him on to the importance of relationships, knowing the right people so that when you need to get something done, you know who to go to. And that's really, really important. We all need to have networks of people who help us to get the result that we need. Then and also in that concept of community, he talked about the African principle of Ubuntu, UBUNTU. I am because you are. And that's in that concept of team. We'll achieve more together than we ever could do individually. But talking about his team and their trust in him, and that coming from the fact that they knew he would always have their back, and that allowed them then to take risks. It encouraged them to get out of their comfort zone and to be creative and to forge new relationships and presumably pursue different academic avenues. He also talked about the importance of self-care and taking breaks. Playing the piano and meditation gave him that space to relax and to connect with his inner self, and also being out in the garden, being out in nature. So as an exercise and initiative arising from this podcast, what actions will you take to follow through on some of the learning from Professor Josh Aston? So many important principles, but action is the bridge between intent and results. So which area do you need to take action on today? And remember, success is never accidental.